friend of mine has this theory that when you go on holiday, you should read a book that's set in that country. So I thought I'd put this to the test a couple of weeks ago when I went on holiday to Jordan. I didn't know what to pick, but the guidebook recommends this book here, which is called Married to a Bedouin. It's actually a biography, and I've not read a biography before, so with that in mind I wasn't really sure what to expect. But straight away I started reading this in the middle of the holiday, and I read it through the rest of the time while I was travelling, and also just on the plane back too. And it's such an incredible story because it doesn't feel like that kind of diary effect I was expecting. It's made up of really small chapters, kind of like a page and a half at a time. Each one is a little insight into a little part of this woman's life. So she, as a young, kind of like I think it was late teens or early 20s, she was travelling from New Zealand, and she happened to be in Jordan, and literally really randomly met this man who was living there. He was a Bedouin and called Mohammed, and he just one day kind of bumped into her and her friend and invited them back to his cave where he lived. And because she was full of so much adventure and didn't want to do the usual travel book thing, she decided to follow him to his cave, and she spent the night there. This was completely just kind of like his lodgings instead of a hotel. But they kind of got this connection, and literally a few months later they got married. She gave up everything she ever knew about her Western lifestyle and just immersed herself in Bedouin culture. So what happens on the pages of the book is she actually goes through the characters she met, the different traditions that she had to kind of learn about, the language differences, the food, the culture, so many different aspects that you would just never kind of imagine. In fact, when you go on holiday to Jordan and you kind of encounter a little bit of Bedouin culture, and obviously it's completely changed, this is set in the 70s, very different, and even then, obviously before that it was very different, and a lot of the Bedouins now are not living the lifestyle they led when she was there. But you kind of witness bits of that culture. But what she does is she actually tells you things that you would never have known or found out about the people, which is just really kind of like, wow, it's such a special story. Really unique. I don't think you actually obviously need to go to Jordan to read this book. If you just like hearing about a completely different lifestyle, different people, just a whole different way of life. That probably sounds really cheesy, but actually, I mean, Bedouin culture in Jordan, would you have ever read about that otherwise? Probably not, and it really does come from a woman who knows her stuff. The best thing about it is it actually feels like fiction when you're reading it, even though it's not. And I think that is, I guess, a real skill of a woman who really is a fantastic writer. And of course she wasn't a writer to begin with. She ended up writing this book many, many years after her experience started, but just took to the words and they just came, and she told this incredible story. The other thing I love about this book is the photographs that are inside. So here she is. That's her and her husband, Marguerite and Mohammed. And this is a place in Petra where the book is set. It's the entrance to Petra, called the Sick. And so she describes this way, because the only way into Petra is in and out of this area. I went there too, so just kind of hearing the things that she describes and knowing that you've been there just makes those memories far more special. So the photos are really incredible. From her first child, it's got her in-laws. There's a really fantastic one of where it shows where they actually lived, which was this incredible cave, our cave in the hillside, 1985. It really is a moment in history, a moment of her history, the one that she's shared. It's written really clearly, really beautifully. I think it's quite hard to get hold of this book. I actually bought it when I was in Jordan. I did have a quick look on Amazon and it was about £20, so for a softback book that's quite a lot, but it's really refreshing. Often when I go into libraries and bookshops I kind of look at book covers and I get quite bored. Nothing, I mean, it's really hard to impress me, but this book is just really unique. You know, there's so many books of similar genres, touching on similar cultures, types of people, and this is literally a one-off. I really recommend it if you kind of want to immerse yourself in something that's just completely alien, and yet you'll be able to relate to it. So Marguerite, thank you so much for writing this fantastic book. It made my holiday just complete, and I really now agree with that theory that if you're going somewhere, read a bit more about it and you'll get a completely different insight. So enjoy.